The alarm bells rang through the ship like angry wasps. Captain Jake Morrison jumped from his chair on the bridge of the New Horizon. The sound meant only one thing. Someone was trying to contact them using massive amounts of power. "What's happening, Amy?" Jake asked his communication officer. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez stared at her screens with wide eyes. Her hands moved fast over the controls, but nothing seemed to work right. "Sir, we're getting a signal on every frequency at once. It's so strong. It's breaking our equipment." The other crew members on the bridge looked worried. Dr. Helen Carter, their science officer, walked over to Amy's station. She looked at the readings and shook her head. "This much power should be impossible. Whoever is sending this has technology far beyond ours." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. The New Horizon was one of humanity's newest ships, sent to explore the far edges of space. They had been alone out here for months, mapping new star systems and looking for signs of life. Now it seemed like life had found them first. "Can you clean up the signal?" Jake asked. Amy worked at her controls for several minutes. Slowly, the static cleared. What came through the speakers made everyone on the bridge freeze. The voice was not human. It spoke in perfect English, but the tone was cold and mechanical. Each word was pronounced with exact precision, like a machine reading from a script. "Attention. Species designation. Human. This is High Arbiter Veltar of the Galactic Dominion Council. Your species has been observed and evaluated. You have spread across 37 star systems without permission. This violates the ancient laws that govern all civilized life in this galaxy." Jake felt his heart beating fast. He looked around the bridge at his crew. They all had the same shocked expression on their faces. The alien voice continued. "For 10,000 years, the Galactic Dominion Council has maintained order and peace throughout known space. 12 great civilizations make up this council. We have guided lesser species and protected them from the chaos that comes with uncontrolled expansion." Dr. Carter grabbed Jake's arm. "Captain, this is first contact. We need to record everything." "Already doing it," Amy whispered back. The message went on. "Your species, despite its primitive nature, has shown rapid growth. This growth must be controlled before it becomes dangerous to the established order. Therefore, the Council has decided to extend its protection to humanity." Jake did not like the way the alien said, "protection." It sounded more like a threat. Beginning. In 30 Earth days, humanity will provide tribute to the Council. This tribute will consist of 20% of all resources, technology, and population from every human world. These contributions will be collected annually and will ensure your species' continued existence under Council guidance. The crew exchanged worried looks. 20% of everything meant 1 in 5 humans would be taken away. Jake felt anger building inside him. This tribute system has been successfully implemented with over 300 species throughout the galaxy. Compliance ensures peace and prosperity. Resistance results in corrective measures that have proven necessary with 47 non-compliant species in the past. Dr. Carter's face went pale. "Corrective measures," she repeated quietly. "They're talking about genocide." The alien voice became even colder. "Your primitive military forces and limited technology make resistance impossible. The Council's fleets contain millions of ships across thousands of worlds. Our technology is advanced beyond your understanding. Our power is absolute." Jake clenched his fists. Every word from this alien made him angrier. "To demonstrate our commitment to peace. War. Commander Zekthul will arrive at your home system with a collection fleet in 30 days. Your tribute will be prepared and ready for transfer at that time. Any attempt to flee or hide resources will be detected and punished." The message paused for a moment, then continued. "Humanity will learn to appreciate the stability and order that comes with Council membership. Your tribute will contribute to the greater good of galactic civilization. Resistance is not only futile, but unnecessary." Amy looked at Jake with fear in her eyes. "Sir, they're sending us coordinates, landing sites on Earth and 12 other major human colonies." "How do they know about our colonies?" Dr. Carter asked. "Some of those locations are classified. The Alien voice gave what might have been meant as reassurance but sounded like a warning. The Council has observed your species for several decades. Your expansion patterns, military capabilities, and technological development have been thoroughly documented. There are no secrets from the Council. Jake felt a chill run down his back. They had been watched for decades without knowing it. Compliance is expected and will be rewarded with continued existence. The alternative is not acceptable for your species' survival. This message will be repeated on all frequencies until acknowledgement is received. The transmission ended with a sharp click, leaving the bridge in complete silence. Jake looked around at his crew. Amy was still staring at her equipment in shock. Dr. Carter was making notes as fast as she could write. The other officers waited for orders. Amy, get me a direct line to Earth Command. Priority Alpha, Jake said. Yes, sir. Connection established. Admiral Peter Walsh appeared on the main screen. His weathered face looked grim even before Jake spoke. Admiral, we just received a transmission from an alien government calling itself the Galactic Dominion Council. They're demanding tribute from humanity. The Admiral's expression did not change. We received the same message here on Earth 24 minutes ago, Captain. Every human colony and ship in space got it at the same time. Jake was not surprised that Admiral Walsh looked calm. The old soldier had seen too much to be easily shocked. What are your orders, sir? Admiral Walsh was quiet for a long moment. Return to Earth immediately, Captain. The President is calling. An emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. We have 30 days to decide humanity's response to this ultimatum. And if we refuse to pay this tribute? The Admiral's eyes grew hard. Then we find out what corrective measures means. The United Earth Council chamber had never seen anything like this. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in emergency session. Military commanders stood along the walls. Scientists filled the observer sections. Everyone knew that the next few hours would decide humanity's future. President Lisa Anderson stood at the center podium. Her voice was steady, but Jake Morrison could see the stress in her eyes. He sat with the other ship captains who had been called back to Earth. We face a choice that no human leader has ever had to make. President Anderson began. Submit to alien rule or fight against impossible odds. General Robert Hayes stepped forward. His uniform was covered with ribbons from a dozen conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for this. He activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. These are the facts, General Hayes said. His voice was harsh from years of giving orders. The Galactic Dominion Council controls thousands of star systems. Their fleets contain more ships than we have bullets. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. The hologram showed images of massive alien ships. Each one was larger than Earth's biggest cities. Weapons that could crack planets. Shields that could stop any human weapon. Our entire military has maybe 50,000 combat ships. Intelligence estimates the Council has over 10 million. If we fight, we lose. It's that simple. Angry voices rose from the assembled representatives. Admiral Walsh stood up from his seat near the front. General Hayes is right about their numbers, Admiral Walsh said, but numbers don't tell the whole story. Dr. Marcus Stone joined the Admiral at the central display. The intelligence director looked tired, like he had not slept in days. We've been intercepting alien communications for the past week. What we've learned is interesting. The hologram changed to show intercepted alien messages. The text was translated into English, but the original alien writing looked like flowing water. The Council has not fought a real war in over 1,000 years, Dr. Stone continued. Every species they've encountered has surrendered immediately. Their military tactics are ceremonial. Their commanders have never faced actual resistance. Captain Morrison found himself leaning forward. This was news he had not heard before. More importantly, Dr. Stone said, their subject species are completely broken. Centuries of tribute payments have left them weak and dependent. They can't fight even if they wanted to. A representative from the African Union stood up. What are you suggesting? That we can defeat them? Dr. Stone shook his head. I'm suggesting they've never faced an enemy like humanity. Every other species gave up when faced with superior force. We don't know how to give up. Helen Carter had been flown in from the New Horizon for this meeting. Now she stood and addressed the chamber. "I've studied the alien transmission. Their technology is advanced, but it's also old. They've been using the same basic designs for thousands of years. They've stopped innovating because they've never needed to." "What does that mean for us?" President Anderson asked. "It means they might be powerful, but they're not adaptable. Humans are the most adaptable species we know. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed other species." Karen Brooks, the president's chief strategic advisor, walked to the center of the chamber. She was a small woman, but her voice carried to every corner of the room. "I've been studying historical examples," Karen said. "Every time in human history when a smaller force has faced a larger one, what decided the outcome was not size. It was determination." She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed images from human history. Ancient battles where small armies defeated large ones. Revolutions where common people overthrew powerful empires. The British Empire was the most powerful force on Earth when the American colonists decided to fight for independence. The colonists had no navy, no professional army, and no allies. But they won because they refused to give up. Jake Morrison stood up. As one of the ship captains who had received the original alien message, his voice carried weight in the chamber. "I've met other alien species during exploration missions," Jake said. "Every single one of them was afraid. Afraid to take risks, afraid to try new things, afraid to fight. When they see something stronger than them, they submit immediately." He looked around the chamber at the faces of humanity's leaders. "Humans are different. When we see something stronger than us, we figure out how to beat it. We don't submit. We don't run. We fight." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives argued for compliance. They pointed out that 20% tribute was better than complete extinction. Others demanded immediate military action, even if it meant certain defeat. President Anderson called for order. When the chamber was quiet again, she spoke directly to the military commanders. "Admiral Walsh, if we choose to fight, what are our chances?" The old admiral was quiet for a long moment. "In a straight fight, 0. Our weapons can't penetrate their shields. Our ships can't match their speed. Our numbers are pathetic compared to theirs." He paused and looked around the room. "But if we don't fight like they expect, if we use tactics they've never seen, if we hit them where they're weak instead of where they're strong, then maybe we have a chance." General Hayes nodded slowly. "Guerrilla warfare, hit-and-run attacks, psychological operations. Make them afraid to leave their ships." Dr. Stone added his thoughts. "Their empire is built on fear. If we can show other species that the Council can be hurt, can be beaten, then maybe those species will start to fight back too." President Anderson looked at Karen Brooks. "What's your recommendation?" Karen Brooks had been quiet during most of the discussion. Now she looked directly at the president. "I recommend we activate Protocol Defiance." A hush fell over the chamber. Protocol Defiance was a theoretical plan that had been developed years ago but never implemented. It was designed for exactly this situation, when humanity faced an enemy too powerful to defeat through conventional means. Protocol Defiance assumes, "We can't win a traditional war," Karen continued. "Instead, we win by making the cost of ruling us higher than the benefit. We make ourselves too dangerous, too unpredictable, too expensive to control." President Anderson was quiet for several minutes. The entire chamber waited for her decision. Finally, she spoke. "The Alien Council assumes we will react like every other species they've encountered. They expect us to calculate the odds, realize we can't win, and surrender." She stood straighter, and her voice became stronger. "They don't understand that humans have never been good at calculating odds. We've been fighting impossible battles since we lived in caves. We've never learned when to quit." The president looked at each of the military commanders in turn. "Activate Protocol Defiance. Send orders to every human colony, every ship, every military installation. We're not paying tribute. We're going to war." The chamber exploded in cheers and arguments. Some representatives celebrated while others protested, but Jake Morrison could see that the decision had been made. Humanity would fight. Admiral Walsh approached the president. "This could mean the end of our species." "President." Anderson nodded. "Yes, it could. But slavery would mean the end of what makes us human. I'd rather die free than live as slaves." Tony Martinez had been building machines his whole life. As supervisor of the largest manufacturing complex on New Detroit, he knew how to make anything from farming equipment to starship engines. But he had never built weapons of war on this scale. The order came directly from Earth Command. Convert all civilian production to military hardware immediately. Use any design, any material, any method necessary. Tony looked at the classified blueprints on his screen and whistled low. "These weapons don't exist yet," he told his assistant, Maria Santos. "Half of these designs are theoretical." Maria looked over his shoulder at the plans. The weapons used principles that human scientists had only dreamed about. "How are we supposed to build something that's never been tested?" Tony smiled grimly. "Same way humans have always done impossible things. We try until it works." Across the factory floor, thousands of workers were already stripping down the assembly lines. Machines that built tractors were being rebuilt to make plasma cannons. Production lines for civilian vehicles became factories for military armor. The entire planet was transforming itself into a weapon. Meanwhile, in orbit around Jupiter, Dr. Susan Parker stared at the alien artifact floating in her laboratory. The piece of technology had been recovered from a crashed alien probe years ago. Human scientists had been studying it ever since, learning how alien technology worked. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," Susan told her research team. "We've been trying to copy their technology. Instead, we should be figuring out how to break it." Her assistant, Dr. Kevin Wright, looked confused. "Break it? Why would we want to break alien technology?" Susan pointed at the readings on her screen. "Because if we understand how their shields work, we can design weapons that go right through them. If we know how their computers think, we can create viruses that destroy their systems." The research team worked without sleep for days. They took apart every piece of alien technology they could find. They studied how the aliens built their ships, their weapons, their communication systems. Most importantly, they found the weaknesses. Their shields work by deflecting energy at specific frequencies, Susan explained to the team. But they've never encountered quantum disruption weapons because no other species has developed quantum physics far enough. Dr. Wright smiled for the first time in days. "So if we can build weapons that disrupt matter at the quantum level, their shields become useless," Susan finished. "We can punch right through them." Admiral Walsh stood in the command center at Earth Defense Headquarters. Screens around him showed the positions of every human ship in space. What the aliens saw was panic and confusion. What was really happening was the largest military mobilization in human history. Captain Bill Murphy reported from the battleship, Defiant. "Admiral, my ships are in position around the Mars defense grid. The aliens think we're evacuating civilians, but we're actually setting up a kill zone." Commander Rachel Green added her report from the stealth destroyer Ghost Rider. "My squadron is hidden in the asteroid belt. Long-range sensors show the alien fleet is maintaining standard formation. They have no idea we're here." The Admiral studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was massive, but it was arranged for ceremony, not combat. Their ships moved in perfect formation, broadcasting their power for all to see. They had no scouts, no advance guard, no defensive screens. "They're not expecting a fight," Admiral Walsh said to his staff. "They're expecting a surrender ceremony, Captain." Morrison's voice came through the communication system. He was commanding a task force of the newest human ships. "Admiral, we've received the quantum disruption weapons from Dr. Parker's team. Installation is complete." "Good," Admiral Walsh replied. "Remember, we only get one surprise attack. After that, they'll know what we can do." On Earth, the secret preparations continued. Major cities looked normal from space, but underground, massive bunkers were being stocked with supplies. Civilian populations were being quietly moved to safety, while maintaining the appearance of normal activity. President Anderson broadcast to the world from what appeared to be the normal government building. In reality, she was speaking from a bunker 300 feet underground. The message was designed to look like a surrender speech to any aliens who might be listening. "My fellow humans," the president said, We face the greatest challenge in our species' history. The Galactic Council has shown us their power. We must be realistic about our situation. But humans around the world heard the real message hidden in her words. Phrases like, realistic about our situation, were code for activate all defensive systems. When she said we must consider our children's future, every human military unit knew to prepare for immediate combat. The alien response was exactly what human intelligence had predicted. Intercepted communications showed the Council fleet relaxing as they interpreted the President's speech as preparation for surrender. War Commander Zekthul sent a message to his superiors. The humans are behaving as expected. No signs of military preparation. They appear to be organizing tribute collection points as ordered. High Arbiter Veltar replied, excellent. Another species learns the wisdom of Council rule. Proceed with collection as planned. But not all the alien communications were confident. Some Council members expressed surprise at how quickly humans had begun preparing tribute. Other species had taken months or years to organize their first payments. Dr. Stone's intelligence team intercepted a conversation between two Council members that revealed important information. The Council had rules about tribute collection. They could not simply take what they wanted. The subject species had to voluntarily hand over the tribute at designated collection points. They're constrained by their own laws, Dr. Stone reported to Admiral Walsh. They can't just attack us and take our resources. They have to follow their collection protocols. This gave human forces a crucial advantage. The aliens would arrive, expecting humans to bring tribute to specific locations. Instead, those locations had been turned into traps. On the mining world of New Colorado, Colonel Danny Murphy supervised the preparation of what appeared to be a massive tribute collection site. Alien sensors would detect huge stockpiles of valuable resources, exactly what they expected to find. What the aliens would not detect were the thousands of human soldiers hidden in underground tunnels. The resources on the surface were mostly worthless materials disguised to look valuable. The real surprise was buried beneath the landing site. The quantum mines are in position, Colonel Murphy reported to his commanding officer. When their ships land to collect tribute, we can destroy their entire ground force. Lieutenant Commander Nancy Brown worked with a team of communication specialists to prepare for information warfare. When the fighting started, she would broadcast everything to the galaxy. For the first time in thousands of years, other species would see Council forces being defeated. Most alien species don't even know that resistance is possible, Nancy explained to her team. They've been conditioned to believe the Council is invincible. When they see human ships destroying Council vessels, it might inspire them to fight back. As the deadline approached, human forces made their final preparations. Every weapon was tested and ready. Every soldier knew their mission. Every ship was in position. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth, confident in their overwhelming superiority. War Commander Zekthul prepared for what he expected to be a routine tribute collection. He had done this hundreds of times before with hundreds of different species. None of them had ever fought back. Admiral Walsh watched the alien fleet on his tactical display. In 12 hours, they would arrive at Earth. In 12 hours, the galaxy would discover that humans do not surrender. All stations, this is Admiral Walsh. He broadcast to every human military unit. Protocol Defiance is now active. Show these aliens what happens when they threaten humanity. The Council fleet arrived at Earth like a storm made of metal and energy. War Commander Zekthul's flagship, the Inevitable Victory, was larger than most human cities. Behind it came hundreds of other ships, each one powerful enough to destroy entire planets. Zekthul stood on his command bridge and looked at the small blue world before him. He had done this so many times that it had become routine. Another primitive species learning to bow before Council power. Transmit collection coordinates to the human government, Zekthul ordered his communication officer. Standard tribute protocols. They have 6 hours to deliver the first payment. The war commander expected to see human transport ships arriving, soon loaded with resources and terrified humans destined for alien labor camps. Every species reacted the same way when faced with Council power: fear, desperation, and finally submission. On Earth, President Anderson received the alien transmission in her underground command center. The message contained coordinates for tribute collection points on Earth and 12 other human colonies. The aliens wanted their payment delivered to specific locations where their ships would land. "Send our response," President Anderson told Communication Director Steve Williams. Steve had prepared for this moment. The message was short, only 2 words, but those words would be heard across the galaxy. He transmitted on all frequencies in every alien language that human computers could translate. The response was simple: "Come and take it." War Commander Zek Thul stared at his communication screen in confusion. In 10,000 years of council history, no species had ever responded to tribute demands with defiance. The message made no sense to him. "There must be a translation error," Zek Thul told his officers. "Repeat the tribute demands. Make sure they understand the consequences of non-compliance." But along with humanity's 2-word response came something that made the alien commander's blood run cold. Detailed intelligence reports about Council fleet positions, weapon capabilities, and tactical weaknesses. The humans had been studying the Council's military for months. "How do they know our ship classifications?" one of Zek Thul's officers asked nervously. "This data about our weapons is classified at the highest levels." Zek Thul was beginning to realize that humans were not like other species the Council had encountered. But his pride would not let him admit that primitives could threaten the mighty Council fleet. "Prepare the planet cracker," Zek Thul ordered. "We will demonstrate our power by destroying one of their moons. Then they will remember their place." The massive weapon charged with energy that could split worlds in half. War Commander Zek Thul selected a lifeless moon orbiting Earth. The destruction would be visible from the planet's surface, showing humans the futility of resistance. The energy beam struck the moon and tore it apart in seconds. Massive chunks of rock scattered into space, creating a debris field that would be visible for years. Zek Thul smiled as he watched the destruction. No species could resist after seeing such power. But humanity's response was not fear. It was rage. Captain Morrison had been waiting in the asteroid belt with a squadron of human stealth ships. The moment the aliens destroyed the moon, he gave the attack order that changed everything. "All ships, this is Morrison. Execute Operation Payback. Show them what happens when they threaten our home." Human ships emerged from hiding throughout the solar system. They had been invisible to alien sensors, using new stealth technology developed specifically to fight the Council. The quantum disruption weapons that Dr. Parker's team had built were about to be tested in real combat. Morrison's ship, the Retribution, fired the first shot. The quantum weapon hit the nearest Council vessel and passed right through its shields like they were not there. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up space for millions of miles. "Impossible!" Zek Thul shouted as his sensors detected human ships appearing everywhere. "Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields." But the impossible was happening, all around him. Human ships that should not exist were destroying Council vessels with weapons that should not work. The perfect formation of the alien fleet dissolved into chaos as captains tried to understand what was happening. Commander Rachel Green's stealth destroyer Ghost Rider attacked from behind the alien fleet. Her crew had trained for this moment. For months, they knew exactly where to hit each alien ship to cause maximum damage. "Target their command centers," Rachel ordered her weapons officer. "Take out their ability to coordinate." The quantum weapons carved through alien hulls like knives through paper. Council ships that had terrified entire star systems for thousands of years were being destroyed by human vessels a tenth their size. But the real surprise came when the aliens tried to land their ground forces. Colonel Murphy waited at the tribute collection site on New Colorado as alien transports descended toward what they thought were stockpiles of human resources. "Wait for my signal," Murphy told his hidden troops. "Let them land. Let them get out of their ships. Then we show them what a real fight looks like." The alien soldiers who emerged from the transports had never faced combat. They were ceremonial troops, trained for parade duty and intimidating helpless civilians. They walked toward the fake tribute stockpiles expecting to find cowering humans, ready to be taken as slaves. Instead, they found explosions erupting from beneath their feet. The quantum mines that human engineers had buried under the landing site tore apart the alien ground force in seconds. Those who survived the initial blast found themselves facing human soldiers who had been preparing for this fight their entire lives. Murphy's troops emerged from underground tunnels and attacked with weapons designed to punch through alien armor. The battle was short and brutal. Not a single alien soldier made it back to their ships. Across the galaxy, similar attacks were happening on dozens of worlds. Human forces struck Council installations while broadcasting everything to alien populations who had never seen their oppressors defeated. Lieutenant Commander Nancy Brown coordinated the information warfare campaign from her command post on Mars. Every battle, every human victory, every Council defeat was transmitted across the galaxy in real time. This is what freedom looks like, Nancy. Broadcast to alien worlds in hundreds of different languages. The Council is not invincible. They can be beaten. They can be destroyed. The psychological impact was immediate. On worlds that had been paying tribute for thousands of years, alien civilians watched in amazement as human ships cut through Council fleets like sharks through fish. War Commander Zekthul found his flagship, surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. His shields were useless against their weapons. His communications were being jammed by signals he could not block. All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance, Zekthul ordered, his remaining fleet. But many of his captains no longer responded. Their ships were dead in space, their crews killed or captured by human boarding parties. Admiral Walsh coordinated the human assault from his command center. Years of planning were paying off as every element of Protocol Defiance worked exactly as designed. Phase 1 is complete, Admiral Walsh reported to President Anderson. The Council fleet is neutralized, moving to Phase 2. Phase 2 involved something the Council had never experienced in their 10,000-year history. Human ships began hunting down Council vessels throughout human space, destroying any alien presence they found. But more importantly, the intelligence that Dr. Stone had gathered about Council operations was being used to strike at the heart of their empire. Human teams attacked Council communication centers, supply depots, and administrative facilities on dozens of worlds. The message was clear to every species in the galaxy. The Council could be beaten. Their 10,000-year reign of terror was ending. Zekthul's communication officer managed to send one final message to Council headquarters before his ship's systems were completely destroyed by human attack. The message contained only 3 words that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Empire: the humans fight. For the first time in recorded history, a Council tribute collection had failed. More than failed, it had been turned into a crushing defeat that left the Council's military power in ruins. President Anderson watched the battle reports from her command center. Human casualties were light. Council losses were catastrophic. But she knew this was only the beginning. Send a message to every human colony and ship, she ordered. Phase 3 begins now. It's time to liberate the galaxy. High Arbiter Veltar stood in the great chamber of the Council, surrounded by holographic displays showing disaster reports from across the galaxy. For 10,000 years, this chamber had been the center of absolute power. Now it felt like a tomb. Explain to me how a primitive species destroyed our most powerful fleet, Veltar demanded from his military commanders. His voice echoed off the crystal walls that had witnessed the submission of countless species. War Marshal Keith Vor, the highest-ranking military officer in the Council, looked older than his 800 years. High Arbiter, the humans used weapons we have never encountered. Their technology bypassed our shields completely. Our sensors could not detect their ships until they were already attacking. That is impossible, Veltar replied coldly. We have studied every species in the galaxy. Human technology is centuries behind ours, but the evidence was undeniable. The Council's tribute collection fleet at Earth had been completely destroyed. War Commander Zekthul was dead, his flagship captured by human forces. Even worse, the humans had broadcast their victory across the galaxy for all to see. The real problem is not their technology, said Intelligence Director Morden. His species was known for their analytical minds, but even he seemed shaken by recent events. The problem is that other species are beginning to believe the humans can win. Veltar studied the intelligence reports with growing alarm. On the Yar, World of Kethmoran. Alien civilians had risen up against their council governors after watching human ships destroy council vessels. The Velkari system had declared independence and requested human assistance. Even worse, 3 council member species were reconsidering their loyalty. "This cannot continue," Veltar declared. "Mobilize the core fleets. Assemble every ship we have. We will crush the humans and make an example that the galaxy will never forget." But mobilizing took time, and humans were not waiting. Reports flooded in of human attacks across dozens of star systems. They struck council supply convoys, liberated alien labor camps, and destroyed administrative centers. Each victory was broadcast across the galaxy, inspiring more species to revolt. Dr. Parker's quantum weapons had given humanity a technological edge, but it was human tactics that were destroying the Council's ability to maintain control. Small. Human fleets attacked isolated Council positions while avoiding major confrontations. They hid and ran before the aliens could respond. Captain Morrison led one such attack on the Council depot at Rigel Prime. His task force emerged from hyperspace, destroyed the facility's defenses, and rescued thousands of alien slaves before disappearing again. The entire operation took less than 2 hours. "This is how we win," Morrison told his crew as they jumped back to hyperspace. "We don't fight their big fleets. We make them afraid to leave their fortified positions." Colonel Murphy had become something of a legend among alien populations. His liberation of the forced labor camps on Kethmoran had been broadcast throughout the galaxy. Images of human soldiers providing medical aid to freed alien slaves inspired uprisings on dozens of worlds. "The humans fight for others, not just themselves," reported one freed alien in an interview that was transmitted across the galaxy. "They came to our world not to conquer, but to liberate. This is something the Council has never done." The psychological warfare campaign led by Lieutenant Commander Nancy Brown was proving as effective as the military attacks. Her broadcasts reached billions of aliens who had never imagined that resistance was possible. "For 10,000 years, you have been told that Council rule is natural and inevitable." Nancy's voice carried across space in hundreds of languages. "Today you can see the truth. The Council rules through fear, not strength, and fear can be overcome." High Arbiter Veltar watched his empire crumbling from his command center. Species that had been loyal for millennia were declaring independence. Council fleets were being destroyed faster than they could be replaced. The tribute system that had sustained the Empire for 10,000 years was collapsing. "Perhaps we should negotiate with the humans," suggested Councillor Jektai from the Hegemony Empire. "Offer them membership in the Council, make them partners, rather than enemies." Veltar's response was immediate and harsh. "The Council does not negotiate with primitives. We rule or we destroy. There is no middle ground." But even as Veltar spoke those words, he knew the situation was becoming desperate. The Council's core worlds were secure, but their control over the galaxy was slipping away with each passing day. The final blow came when Dr. Stone's intelligence teams discovered the location of the Council's central communication array. The massive structure orbited a star in the galactic core, coordinating all Council operations across thousands of star systems. Admiral Walsh personally led the attack on the communication array. It was the most heavily defended target in Council space, protected by automated defense platforms and a fleet of guard ships. But human quantum weapons cut through the defenses like paper. "This is for every species you enslaved," Admiral Walsh said, as his ships destroyed the ancient structure. "This is for every world you conquered. This is for every life you destroyed." With their central communications gone, the Council could no longer coordinate their scattered fleets. Local commanders found themselves cut off from orders, forced to make decisions without guidance from the core worlds. Many chose to surrender rather than face human forces alone. The revolution spread like fire across the galaxy. The Thon Collective, the Rim territories, and dozens of other regions declared independence from Council rule. Former tribute species formed alliances with humanity, sharing resources and technology to build new governments based on cooperation, rather than domination. President Anderson stood before the United Earth Council as reports of victory arrived from across the galaxy, but her expression was serious rather than celebratory. "We did not fight this war to become the new rulers of the galaxy," she told the assembled representatives. "We fought to ensure that no species would ever again face the choice between slavery and extinction." The president's words were transmitted across space to the new alliance of free worlds. Humanity had the military power to rule the galaxy, but they chose a different path. High Arbiter Veltar made one final attempt to contact President Anderson directly. The quantum communication reached Earth despite the destruction of the central array. "You have destroyed an empire that maintained peace for 10,000 years, Veltar said, his voice filled with anger and desperation. "What will replace it? Chaos? War between species? The galaxy will burn without council guidance." President Anderson's response was calm but firm. "The council maintained order through fear and oppression. True peace cannot be built on slavery. The galaxy will learn to govern itself through cooperation, not domination." "Impossible," Veltar replied. "Species cannot cooperate without superior authority to guide them. This is the natural order." "You made a fundamental error in understanding human nature," President Anderson said. "You assumed we would react like every other species you had encountered. You thought superior force would make us submit." She paused, looking directly at the alien leader through the communication link. "But humans are the species that looked at impossible odds throughout our history and chose to fight anyway. We are the species that believes freedom is worth dying for." Veltar's image flickered as his communication systems failed. The Galactic Dominion Council was dissolving, its member species abandoning the alliance that had ruled for millennia. Within months, a new galactic confederation emerged from the ashes of the Council Empire. Unlike the old system, membership was voluntary. Instead of tribute, member species contributed resources and knowledge freely for mutual benefit. The Confederation's first act was to establish the Galactic Freedom Charter, guaranteeing the rights of all species to govern themselves, without interference. The charter was written primarily by human legal experts, but it incorporated wisdom from dozens of different species. Captain Morrison found himself commanding a joint human-alien exploration fleet heading into uncharted regions of space. The New Horizon now carried crew members from 12 different species, all working together as equals. "Where to next, Captain?" asked his new first officer, a former council slave who had joined the human fleet after liberation. Morrison looked at the star charts showing vast unexplored regions beyond the old council territory. Somewhere out there were species that had never known the council's oppression, but also species that might be facing their own versions of galactic tyranny. "We keep exploring," Morrison said. "We find species that need help and offer it freely. We spread the message that freedom is possible, that cooperation is stronger than domination." The ship jumped to hyperspace carrying humanity's message to the stars, that no species should ever have to choose between slavery and extinction, and that the galaxy was big enough for everyone to be free. High Arbiter Veltar, now a powerless exile on a forgotten world, watched the news reports of the new Confederation's successes. Species that had paid tribute for thousands of years were now prospering under voluntary cooperation. Trade flowed freely between worlds. Technology advanced rapidly as species shared knowledge instead of hoarding it. Perhaps, Veltar thought in his final moments of clarity, the humans had been right after all. Perhaps the galaxy was ready for something